the rhythmic epistemes previously created and carried forth, nurturing rhythms aligned with matrilineal trajectories, hosting the generation before, after, and within, instructing how to hold breath and resume it, to speak loudest within the silences, to verbalize and visualize, shape and form, obscure and preserve, rediscover and engage, how to regain rhythm when interrupted or discontinued. Similar are the transpositions of sound, wind, water, and desert sands, whispering, hissing, moving, caressing, capturing, swaying, and carrying across geographies from the east to the west, shaping herbs, layering and diversifying the waterbed sediments, preserving and protecting reserves to make meaning of the world. Amidst war and active erasures of communities, the silence vibrates in the pauses between sentences, hesitances in between words uttered, carried north with the Vadaka Katuru and south Piraka Katuru, becoming dispersed sites of resistance and rebellion. It is the potentiality of becoming within silence that relays strength to these pregnant pauses. Where language falls short, it is the rendition of the sound evoked through the encounter of the hand and the drum, where the hypnotic beat gains momentum to reach a crescendo, heard and revered by those attuned by the silences. Echo is the name's inscription in the air, shares Mahmoud Darwish in his book Absent Presence. Here, the tunes of Afro-Lankan Baila are testament to the resilience of the community, recentering and preserving it against dissolution. How do the reverberations of sound carry across generations? How can the syncopated rhythms be revived and recalled? Citing sound is a gesture of call and response, where each reenactment is a new gesture, a remaking, repetition, a new utterance, honoring those across time. The act of humming is one such instance. It is an invocation of the time past, or a formation for the future. A soft sound emerging from the back of the throat with closed lips, in tunes that evoke a longing, a recollection, a remembering of a time, people, and moment, or becomes a tune of rebellion and protest, when words are unheard or prohibited, creating a stance, loudly expressing the pain and suffering, indicating the ebbing tolerance and endurance. They may erupt in a chant, a repetition, a mantra, where in protest or prayer, multiplied within one voice or a collection of voices, manifesting truths and realities that continue to be denied. Humming and chanting are initiations into complex melodic and rhythm forms and schemes of resistance and interplay with movement. Amongst these different formations of sound by the tongue and the body is also the assertion of agency that often denies assimilation and adoption of certain sounds and movements. Song of the Circling Spirit brings together rhythmical perspectives that visibilize sound through scores and notations experienced beneath the surface of the earth in the celestial sphere, or the traumas trapped and unpronounced at the back of the throat. It recalls and pays homage to the winds that become agents of change, opacity, restoration, and preservation. According to Paulo Freire, for humanity to be sustained and recentered, it is important to consistently rename the world. This exercise of renaming is the song of the circling spirit that recognizes the cyclicality and continuity of time, where the evolving rhythms defy, renew, and rename. So this is, these are just some of the thoughts that I have been thinking with, and I'm also going to share a little bit about the visual identity for Rhythm Alliances that we have, and it really centers on a radiating wave for motive, which evoking the pulse of a drum beat. So that's the idea behind it, the ripples of vibration and the cyclical breath of oral tradition. It's dynamic, undulating from visually, and the undulating form visually echoes the festival's approach toward rhythm as a force of connection, memory, and resistance. And the graphic designs distills rhythm into form, a minimal yet potent signal of energy, collectivity, and sonic transmission. The upcoming edition is, in this upcoming edition, we'll be featuring around more than 45 artists, and out of which 90% are new commissions that we're very much working on, and with performers and practitioners. And of course, I also have to share, because nothing we do is done alone or in solitude. I'm also accompanied by a really brilliant and fantastic team, who some of whom also form a part of the curatorial team, which is like the artistic director Natasha Jinwala, and assistant curator Pramoda Virasikra, and also our curatorial assistant Ricardo Human, festival manager Shadia Jamaldeen, and communications manager Mari Varlu. I'm going to show you images now, and like they will run as we speak, so you get a glimpse, and you will also see that it's a very small team that's just putting all our energies together across time zones, and really making the best of what we can. And it's really, once again, I say again and again that it can't be taken for granted. It really is a privilege to work with like-minded people and generous people. So just, yeah, a shout out to the wonderful team that I have the privilege of working with. And yeah, there's also a picture of all of us in the slide, so you get to see that. Yeah, now they can. The slideshow can go now and then. So yeah, thank you. And now we have a conversation.
Thank you so much, Natasha. I think I heard enough people that can hear me without mic.
You can maybe take.
Yes,
you can. Okay. Time for a cup of tea. Hajra, thank you so much. That was so beautiful. And those invocations, those sensibilities, and especially curiously to do with sona, to do with like sonic, to do with the idea of the auditory, the oral, that kept coming up in your reading. Can you kind of like just perhaps touch upon where that beginning point came from? The beat of the drum, that kind of, the kind of personification of a sound wave. Yeah, I think, so there are lots of things, and that it comes from that, you know, I'm just thinking where to start. It's really been, you know, when we think of rhythm, like it's, okay, before thinking of rhythm, I think what has obviously been very heavy on our minds for these past few years now, and it's constantly also thinking of, like, you know, finding a position for yourself, and also thinking of what does what we do mean anymore. And of course for me, especially like working in Germany, it's been like, you know, a lot of questions. It's been a tough place to be in generally. and then in addition to how things are. So of course, like when this idea like came to, you know, and rhythm also comes from this a longer term project that I was doing, which was also with Natasha as well. This was Indigo Waves, re-navigating the Afrasian Sea and notions of diaspora, which is also, you know, these are researches which came together in a project, but it's also how we were thinking about the Indian Ocean and, you know, very much about the, how the thinking of the coastal cultures and what has, you know, like what have been these entanglements, like really thinking about that and thinking of, you know, the cultures that have emerged too. And, you know, the sonic has really been a compass for navigating that space. Because the way sound flows through and connects us in ways that we don't even know. And of course, like, you know, so in that instance, this is where, you know, also thinking of rhythm, but also really stretching the definition of it. And I know, like, when you listen to it, like, the sonic comes and it is very much present, but it is not just that. So it also really expands beyond the sonic and into notations and scores, but also thinking of, like, what does it mean, what are embodied rhythms, and what are the moments when they need to be renewed, and what is the current moment asking us to be. And also, a lot of times when you're pushed out, like we constantly speak about it, that especially thinking of, you know, marginalized and minority communities, and you know, our positions change. So where I am here and where I am there, and, you know, like, also, of course, so it is also how we find our ways of, like, what are these movements as well. So these are some of the things that really led into, you know, like, have gone into thinking of it in this way. And also thinking of, like, you know, once again coming back to the island, is that, you know, it is informed very much from these influences, the back and forth with the ocean, all that has come in and all that has gone out, and, you know, like, the kind of flows that have been generated. And of course, very importantly, Sri Lanka also has a very strong, like, culturally and religiously, it is a very sonic and performance-based culture as well. So it's also, like, quite a lot of different points that are coming together here.
This is so exciting. I hope everyone's booking their tickets.
This is our team. This is all of us. Ricarda is missing in it, but yeah.
Unfortunately, I'm going to ask a very quick question, and then I'm going to open it up because I know that certain people have questions. We've been given a chit again, Hajra. The dreaded chit has come to us. This chit keeps making its way to my table, but can you speak to what your process was in selecting the artists that you do? Selecting the artists, because this is a very impressive volume of artists. And could you also kind of tell us, because not many of us have been, do you take over the entire city? Is there a particular location that you situate yourself in? Like, how does it work?
Yes. Once again, there are so many factors that, you know, determine these things. And of course, so first of all, like, I would say, of course, like, the first thing with, you know, the selection of artists is always, you know, thinking, especially when you come with a certain premise, it's also thinking, okay, who, like, what are the practices that are responding to it, and actually, like, really pushing it further and expanding these ideas, like really building upon that. So one is that consideration. But with Colomboscope, it's also, you know, like, obviously, like, there are other considerations in place. So also just to share with you that a large percentage is artists from Sri Lanka. And also a lot of focus is on younger artists as well, largely. And then we have artists from within the region, and then we add international artists. So it is also like really thinking of how it could be inclusive, but it's not just about that, how it could be a mix of, like, first sharing platform, but also how it can be a space of generative dialogue. Like, how can these practices also really, like, connect with each other? So this is also like, a lot of these things are in consideration, how the artists will come together as well, And then of course, like, there are other, some, like, which are not the top priorities, of course, but like the top selection factor, but aspect, but it is, also looking at what projects are, could be made also possible. But even though, like, that's something that we come to later, like, it's more like we work the other way around. We work with first finalizing, like, what we can work with, and then raising and figuring out funds for that. So yeah, I think, was there another part?
Yes, so the city.
The city, yes. Yeah, so once again, like, it really, so each time, so the city is massive. So, and we are also, so it's often like 4 to 5 venues, and they change each time, and once again they are according to the kind of works and how and where they would fit well, but also because we are using existing architectures, it's also very important to know that these are not white cubes, and they come with a certain context, within it. So it's also important to see, like, how and what conversations, like how best they could be situated. And then of course, like, bureaucracy, because obviously when you use spaces and that, so that also becomes one factor, but so far it's been going pretty well.
And it will, I'm sure it will go wonderfully, fingers crossed. I'm afraid I've been given, I'm getting another trick. So in order to avoid this, I would ask you to please, again, let's relocate outside. Let's continue the conversation with Hajra. Thank you so much, Hajra, for that really thoughtful, beautiful introduction to Colomboscope. And please, everyone, you should congratulate Hajra for being the first Pakistani to be a curator for Colomboscope, which is a very, very, it's a seminal event.
Thank you.
Thank you again, and please, we hope to see you outside.